She didn't. Okay. So we're good. But John, you were doing the last reading? Is that right? Tell Carolina. I did. Okay. Yeah?
Good evening.
I'll point at you.
I'll try again. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Say good morning, but not today. It's a special day because it's Christmas Eve. Good evening and Merry Christmas, everybody. Welcome to those of you on Periscope. We're glad you're with us, and you're probably having cookies or something while you're sitting there, which is really nice. We'll be doing that later. Welcome to the United Church of Christ in Warminster. We are an open, affirming community of faith. All people are welcome, no matter where you are on life's journey, what state of mind or heart you're in today. We're glad you've come to worship with us. And for those of you on Periscope, once again, my name is Josh Blakesley. I'm the pastor of the church, if you didn't know that. And I'm winning the Goofy Award again this year, because that's what I do every year. Right? Thank you, Amber, for that. Thank you. So we hope tonight will be an opportunity for you to sing a little bit, or even just to take in the music. Also a chance for you to hear, of course, the story that we feel like we know so well, the story of Jesus' birth. But we're also going to tell another story about a giraffe. And you'd be like, what? Jesus and a giraffe?
No more giraffes.
No more giraffes. We're going to tell that story because I think this story speaks to how I personally, in this point in my life, see the story of Jesus' birth. That God allows all of us as we are to enter into the story and find our own meaning. So I hope that will happen for you tonight, and I hope the music will be a good way for us to get there. So let's start with a song that kind of calls us to that stable, calls us to the manger, as we continue to think about what that story means for all of us.
Savior.
shining light that brought us tonight to our Savior. As you can see, the 4 candles of Advent have been lit. They represent, as these awesome banners that Joe did, they represent hope, peace, joy, and love. These are more than just words or concepts. They are images for us to be reminded that the light of the world also lives in us, and that hope, peace, joy, and love live in us. And at the end of this time together as a community, we of course will light the center candle, the Christ candle, reminding us that the birth of Christ is a new birth in all of us. So as we continue to do this together, we're going to start by reading from the prophets of the Old Testament, the Hebrew prophet of Isaiah that leads us into the story of Christ.
The people who walked in darkness have seen a great light, those who lived in a land of deep darkness.
On them
Light has shined.
For a child is born to us, an heir given us, upon whose shoulders dominion will rest.
This
This one shall be called Wonderful Counselor,
The strength of God, eternal protector.
Champion of Peace.
Thank
as the story gets in.
In those days, a decree went out from Emperor Augustus that all the world should be registered. This was the first registration and was taken while Quirinius was governor of Syria. All went to their own towns to be registered. Joseph also went from the town of Nazareth in Galilee to Judea, to the city of David called Bethlehem, because he was descended from the house of and family of David. He went to be registered with Mary, and to whom he was engaged, and who was expecting a child. While they were there, the time came for her to deliver her child. She gave birth to her firstborn son, and wrapped him in bands of cloth, and laid him in a manger, because there was no place for them in the inn.
In that region there were shepherds living in the fields, keeping watch over their flock by night. Then an angel of the Lord stood before them, and the glory of the Lord shone around them, and they were terrified. But the angel said to them,
"Do not be afraid, for see, I am bringing you good news of great joy for all people.
To you is born this day in the city of David a Savior, who is the Messiah, the Lord. This will be a sign for you. You will find a child wrapped in bands of cloth and lying in a manger." And suddenly there was with the angel a multitude of the heavenly host, praising God and saying,
Glory to God in the highest heaven, and on earth peace, goodwill among all people. angels had left them and gone into heaven, the shepherds said to one another, "Let us go now to Bethlehem and see this thing that has taken place, which the Lord has made known to us." So they went with haste and found Mary and Joseph and the child lying in the manger. When they saw this, they made known what had been told them about this child, and all who heard it were amazed at what the shepherds told them.
But Mary treasured all these words and pondered them in her heart.
So, we're going to tell a story, and so we can do this. What do you think, Marty? Do you want to have the kids come up front, or do you want to? Let's do that.
Let's do it.
Let's have. So, any of the kids, you want to come up front with me? We're going to tell a story. Yeah. There you go. Share. No, I'm just gonna. I'll stay. We're going to read a book. Look at this cool book. You want to see this? Look at that. What is this? You know what animal that is? It's a giraffe. So this book is called Giraffes Can't Dance. Now I'm going to read the first part, and then Mari is going to read the second part. And those of you who are following in your seats, you can see pictures. So I know you like to see pictures. Gerald was a tall giraffe whose neck was long and slim, but his knees were awfully crooked and his legs were rather thin. He was very good at standing still and munching shoots off the trees like this, like sideways round. But when he tried to run around, he buckled at the knees, falls to the ground, right? Now, every year in Africa, they hold the jungle dance, where every single animal turns up to skip and prance. And in this year, when the day arrived, poor Gerald felt so sad, because when it came to dancing, he was really, really bad. Kind of like me. See, the warthogs started waltzing. Yep. And the rhinos rock and roll. Yeah. And the lions danced to tango. Remember this. With their manes flapping. They was elegant and bold. The chimps, they all did a cha-cha with a very Latin feel. And the 8 baboons then teamed up for a splendid Scottish reel. Part 2.
Part 2. Gerald swallowed bravely as he walked toward the floor, but the lions saw him coming and they soon began to roar. Can you roar like a lion? Hey, look at clumsy Gerald, the animals all sneered. Giraffes can't dance, you silly fool. Oh, Gerald, you're so weird. They weren't being very nice, were they? Gerald simply froze up. He was rooted to the spot. They're right, he thought. I'm useless. Oh, I feel like such a clot. So he crept off from the dance floor and he started walking home. He'd never felt so sad before. So sad and so alone. Then he found a little clearing and he looked up at the sky. The moon can be so beautiful, he whispered with a sigh. Excuse me, coughed a cricket, who'd seen Gerald earlier on. But sometimes when you're different, you just need a different song. Listen to the swaying grass and listen to the trees. Can I have some sound effects? Swaying. To me, the sweetest music is those branches in the breeze. Thank you. So imagine that the lovely moon is playing just for you. Everything makes music if you really want it to. With that, the cricket smiled and picked up his violin. Then Gerald felt his body do the most amazing thing. His hooves had started shuffling, making circles on the ground. His neck was gently swaying, and his tail was swishing around. See his tail swishing? He threw his legs out sideways, and he swung them everywhere. Then he did a backward somersault and leapt up in the air. Can you do a backward somersault? Gerald felt so wonderful, his mouth was open wide. I'm dancing, yes, I'm dancing. I am dancing, Gerald cried. Then, one by one, each animal who'd been there at the dance, arrived while Gerald boogied on and watched him, quite entranced. They shouted, "It's a miracle! We must be in a dream. Gerald's the best dancer that we've ever seen." "How did you learn to dance like that? Please, Gerald, tell us how." But Gerald simply twirled around and finished with a bow. Then he raised his head and looked out at the moon and stars above. "We all can dance," he said, "when we find music that we love."
So why did I choose Gerald's story to read on Christmas Eve? Well, because I think I've felt like Gerald plenty of times. I don't know if you have. And sometimes I've read this story of Jesus being born many times, as you can imagine. I'm sure you've heard it many times too. There's an awesome picture right here. And I think the reason why Gerald the giraffe spoke to me this year at this Christmas is because I've been wondering what this story of Jesus means for me and where I fit in this story. Because I think that's the most important question we should all ask ourselves is, how do I fit in to this story of this baby being born, being light to the world, growing up and being mercy and love and hope and peace for people who are in desperate need of such things, and for those who are pushed to the side in society and left alone and hurt or oppressed. And this baby grew up and became that for the world. So where do we fit into that story? Like Gerald, sometimes I'm not sure the music is the right music that I hear. I'm not sure how to dance. Ask Maria, she'll tell you. I don't dance very well. Unless the music I hear is the music that speaks to me. People say they can't dance, right? I'm one of them. I'm kind of like, from Fresh Prince, what's the guy's name dances? Carlton, yeah. Carlton's the best. But he actually can dance. It's just he's comical, right, when he does it. I'm not even that good, right? So sometimes I really feel like Gerald, I want to dance, I want to move, but I'm just not sure how. What I figured out, as I've gotten older, I'm really old, yes. As I've gotten older, I figured this out. That there's a song for everybody. That's what this story is about for me personally. Is that Jesus was born, and everybody sees this story differently, and that is good, that's okay, it's wonderful, because we're all different. Whatever this story means to you today doesn't have to be what it means to me. Gerald heard a song that was Gerald's song that helped him to dance. And he came up with a brand new dance that nobody had seen, and they were like, "What? That's like Go by Gangnam Style. I don't even know where that came from, Gerald," right? But it was his music and his dance. And that's what this story means to me. That Jesus was born as light. That's why we light candles at this time of year. And this light is you. This light lives in you. No matter whether you feel like Gerald and you're left out, and every time they do the jungle dance, you're like, I can't do it. Or maybe you feel like in your life right now that, what is my purpose? How can I be important, special, do something good in the world? Maybe you feel like that today. But this light was born so that you would recognize that you have this light in you. And sometimes we just need to listen, as Gerald did. Quiet our hearts, our minds, and hear those words that you are loved and that you are light. I think this time of the year, there are so many people who have all kinds of stuff going on. It becomes like really sort of busy, intense. And those of you like Dom who work in retail, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But tonight, I hope you will leave this space in this community knowing that you take this light with you, always, not just this time of year, but every time of year. So we're going to celebrate communion today. And I think it's appropriate that we do that because this baby, this child grew up, right? Yes, we talk a lot about the baby, and the story is wonderful, and I like it too. But that baby grew up. And that baby became the justice and mercy that God promised through the prophets. So when we celebrate communion, we tell another story. It's a story that's tangible, something we can touch, right? Because like you, sometimes I wonder, where is God? I can't really touch God. Sometimes we don't even see God, right? But these symbols, which I want to show you now, these are just symbols, right? This is bread. It's real bread. Joe makes bread. So there's bread. And then we also have a cup, and it's filled with grape juice that represents the wine that people would drink in Jesus' time, and still people drink this wine now, right? But there's a story behind all this bread and this cup, that Jesus grew up, and he was with his friends, often called the disciples, and they journeyed to Jerusalem, and it was a big deal. It was a festival, a huge celebration, kind of like what we do during Christmas time. And they had special prayers and all kinds of great food, and they went to gather in a special place called the upper room. And in the Greek, that place they gathered was the same word used for the place where Jesus was born. So you see the images that we get in the Gospels, that the birth of Jesus is connected even to the very end of his life before he died. So he sat with his friends at the table, they enjoyed a great meal, and then when the meal was over, Jesus did something extraordinary and weird. He did something that many people didn't expect. He took bread, and after giving thanks, he broke that bread, and he gave it to his friends, the disciples, and he said, "This is my body, broken for you. And each time you eat of this, remember." And in the same way, Jesus took the cup. Probably wasn't this big, but he took the cup, and he gave thanks. And then he gave it to his friends, the disciples, and he said, "This is the cup of mercy, poured out for the forgiveness of sins. And every time you drink from this cup, remember me." So I know Christmas is a nostalgic time. It is for everybody, for me included. It's about remembering, isn't it? Remembering the great stories of Scripture, but also the great stories of our lives. And what's beautiful for me every day is to recognize that when you wake up in the morning, your story is once again refreshed. That's the way this story of Christ speaks to me, is that light lives in you. Every time you open your eyes, it is refreshed and is lit again. So as we celebrate this sacrament together, I invite everyone to participate. We are an open table communion church, which means that anybody can participate in communion, all ages, all walks of life. Whether this is your first time, we had a woman tonight receive communion for the first time. She never thought she would. That's the kind of community we are. So we invite everyone to participate as you feel moved. We have bread here that Joe baked, and then for those of you who have a gluten intolerance, we have gluten-free cracker bread as well here. And what we will do by intinction is simply ask you to come forward, and you'll take a piece of the bread or you'll take a cracker. You just dip it into the cup as we share that together. So those who are helping me, if you would come join me. Come, friends, all things are ready.
You're on the camera. I don't know what you're saying. You're kind of bending over. What's that What is this? I don't care. I like food.
Cup of mercy for you. Cup of mercy.
Christ love experience. Thank you.
The cup of mercy.
Christ love experience.
Friends, as we continue our worship today, Kimberly and Lori are going to do a song. It's called Winter Snow. And if we do that, if you brought gifts to share with the ministry of the United Church of Christ, you may do so. You're not required to do so. We pass plates, but a lot of you also give to the ministry online, so we encourage you to give as you feel called as you bring your gifts. Let's continue our reading. I think that song also speaks to me to say that this Christ could have come certainly, as we often think we want, some powerful force, something to solve all our problems, right? Tell us what to do, how to live. And yet, that's not how it happened. It was definitely under the radar. It was definitely not even accepted by a lot of people. And shepherds were the ones who found shepherds. Like, really? Shepherds? I love blindness, but really? Shepherds? The shepherds. And a handmaid, a young teenage girl who's unknown, not wealthy, not from some famous lineage. That's who found out about these things. And the child grew up pretty much way under the radar. We don't hear anything after the child is born, right? Right? The Magi come, the kid's like probably 2, and after that, nothing in the story. Nothing in the story, right? Gets lost in the temple, he's maybe like 11 or 12, and that's it, right? Then he grows up and boom, he's like 33 all of a sudden, right? So under the radar. There's no chariot, there's no horse, there's no battle, there's no power, and yet it's powerful, isn't it? To think that our God comes to live in us, be with us. The Gospel of John was the last gospel written. So John's writers had the benefit of knowing those other gospel stories. And so John's birth story is so different. It's up in the air, it kind of hovers there, but I think it's wonderful because I think it takes all of those other three gospels and sums it up in a new way. The gospel says, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. What came into being was life, and the life was the light of all people. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness did not overcome it. The true light, which enlightens everyone, was coming into the world." Well, one last candle to light, and it is indeed the Christ candle, which we take with us every day of our lives, not just tonight. So, as I light from these 4 candles, joy, peace, love, hope. I light this Christ candle to remind all of you and myself that Christ lives in us, and we are all lights to the world. So I'm going to share my light with you, and as we do so, we're going to sing Silent Night together. We invite you to join us as we pass our light to each other. Before we sing ourselves out, enjoy.
Before you talk,
Oh no. I'm being interrupted.
thank you. I'm going to turn it away.
This is when you say talk amongst yourselves. You can
Talk
be
about
confident.
yourself. No, I'm going to talk. Josh and Lori, can I ask you to come out? This is my favorite moment of the year. So I have gifts for Josh and Lori from the congregation, and on behalf of everyone who is here tonight and who is not here tonight, we want to thank you both for your dedication and your love and everything that you bring to us. So, Merry Christmas. Now you can done.
Thank you. Well, you know I appreciate you all. And I hope that you appreciate that these lights don't have to be something we talk about once a year. That every week, every day, every waking moment of your lives, you are light. And the light of Christ lives in you. So before we sing out in joy, I'll send you out with this benediction. May the light of Christ always be recognizable in you. May the light of your Creator always bring new life to you. And may the light of the Holy Spirit connect you to other lights. And may that light just keep getting bigger and bigger. Amen. So now is your chance to go from this place with your lights and to share the peace of Christ with one another. So I say, may the peace of Christ be with you.
And also with you.
Merry Christmas. Share the peace with one another.
No,